The first report help recording on the structure of the report made reference to an outlier section. While I won't repeat what I covered in the first recording, I did just want to remind you that the first help session included more detail on how to write this section of the report, whereas the aim of this session is to focus on the practical working that we need to do. Before we do any analysis of data, we should consider the possibility of outliers. As we have seen during the lectures, their presence can cause numerical measures to be distorted. The idea is therefore to consider the possibility of outliers before undertaking any of the other analysis, and an early section within the report is therefore logical so as to make clear that this analysis has been included and therefore to clearly define the data set that will be used for the remainder of the report. In terms of calculations for this report, you need only consider the possibility of outliers for the exam results data, as this is our focus. And if you do find any outliers, you will need to then think about whether to leave them within the data set or remove them completely such that the whole row would be deleted. So, the best way to check for outliers is to calculate the z-score for each data value, and this requires that we calculate the mean and standard deviation of the data first. We can use the Excel functions of average and standard deviation to get these values for the exam results column of data. And so we can calculate these in any of the empty cells to the right of the block of data. In Excel, remember we must indicate that we are calculating a function by using the equals symbol to start our formula. If we type into cell J2 equals average, open brackets, then block on column F, close brackets, and hit enter, we will get the average. And if we type into cell J3 equals STDV, our standard deviation function, open brackets, block on column F, close brackets, and then hit enter, we will get the sample standard deviation. We can then use column G to create the z-score of each exam result. Set up your own formula to implement the z-score. So, for example, to get the z-score of the first exam result in cell F2, we would type equals, open brackets, F2 minus J2, close brackets, divide by J3, and this would be typed into cell G2. It's important that when we type this in, we actually put dollar signs around the column and row parts of the J2 and J3 cell references to create what is known as an absolute reference. By including these symbols, when you cut and paste the first formula down through the G column, Excel will automatically update the F column reference so that each row refers to the correct exam result for that row, but it will leave the references to J2 and J3 fixed, which is what we want since this is where the average and standard deviation values are that we need to use in every calculation. So just repeating that again, when you type in your z-score calculation for the first exam result, it will be equals, open bracket, F2 minus J2, but J2 with dollar signs, so dollar sign $J, dollar sign $2, close brackets, divide by J3, but with the dollar signs again, so dollar sign $J, dollar sign $3, and that gets typed into G2. The formula can then be copied and pasted down the column so as to get the z-score for all exam results. Remember that a z-score of more than 3 standard deviations above or below the mean suggests the value is an outlier. If you haven't already sorted your data based on exam results, use a custom sort to do this by blocking on all of the columns of data from column A through to column G with the z-scores. Then click on the Sort and Filter button and do a custom sort, so you can select to sort on the basis of column F, your exam results. It will also give you the correct ordering if you sort on the basis of column G, which are your z-scores. Then it's just a matter of scanning through the column to see if you have any z-scores of more than positive 3 or less than negative 3. Please note that this process of looking for z-scores more than +3 or less than -3 is completed only the one time. If you found any outliers, you wouldn't remove them and then repeat the process. You just do this process the once. Depending on what you find, you'll then need to decide whether or not to remove any outliers. The main thing to keep in mind is that you will need to justify your decision, and so while potentially we can leave in or remove outliers, you should think about what we are trying to achieve with this report to help make any decision as well as to justify it.